welcome to my channel. My name is Katie and here I talk about a whole lot of books, mostly fantasy books, and I'm happy to have you here. Today I want to share my TBR of Christian fantasy, okay? Or fantasy written by Christian authors. At the beginning of 2025, that was one of my goals, was to read more Christian fantasy or fantasy by Christian authors. I did compile a list. I asked on Threads a few times if anyone had any recommendations, and there were usually quite a few recommendations. And so I've been writing them down and categorizing them, and I have them written down in my trusty little notebook. And I want to share them with you in case you are also somebody who's looking for more Christian fiction to read, and especially if you are a fantasy reader looking for Christian fantasy. I feel like there's a lot of like Christian romance, and that's great, that's exciting, and that's awesome. But I'm so not a romance girl. I don't really enjoy romance books. Like I do, there's specific authors I'll read, like Abby Jimenez, Emily Henry, love their books. But in general, I'm not a romance girly. Unless that romance is in a fantasy world. I haven't read any of these, but I wanted to share them because they all seem very promising and very good. And I'm sure that somebody who's watching would like them and enjoy them, because I'm sure that I will. I have a good feeling about all of them. The first book that I want to talk about that's on my TBR and has been for a really long time is Cities of Smoke and Starlight by Alli Earnest. These books have gorgeous covers for one, like they're so stunning. That is definitely what drew me in initially. But then what kept me really excited about reading these books was the description and the steampunk sci-fi fantasy Victorian era kind of vibes that is going on for this book. I think all of that sounds so fun and interesting, and I literally have been wanting to read these books for so long. I've just kind of been waiting to get closer to the release date of the third book because I'm the type of person where I really want to read an entire series all at once. Like, that is what I like to do. So I'm kind of just waiting a little bit longer because the third book in this trilogy comes out in September. So I'm trying to hold off a little bit because I just enjoy books so much more when they're all together. Regardless, this is on my TBR. It has been for such a long time, and I'm going to read you what it's about. This says, 2 lost souls, 1 dangerous mission. Case is a screw-up, and when he takes the blame for nearly killing a fellow pilot, he faces serious charges. Seeking to clear his name, he flies a ragtag crew to establish trade with a hostile race and help his nation avoid the looming war. So there's Case. Then there's also Hallie, who has just lost her bookshop job and the promise of school tuition. She's desperate to avoid the ghosts of the past awaiting her return home. She's offered a substantial sum to negotiate an alliance for her country, and she says yes. Now, if she could just ignore the ungrateful, arrogant prat of a pilot. So there's our romance. In a world, doesn't this sound so interesting? In a world of hover ships and crumbling first Earth artifacts. Hello? It sounds so amazing. And the cover is so beautiful, like stunning, stunning. And the cover for book 2 is also just as beautiful, and for book 3 as well. So that is the first book that's on my TBR, and I really cannot wait to finally get to it. Eventually, I will get there. The second book is actually a series called Mark of the Raven. I actually don't know what the whole series is called, but the first book is Mark of the Raven, and it's by Morgan L. Busse. She has like a few fantasy Christian series that I do want to read. This is one of them. I've already ordered the first and second book because that's the kind of person I am. I order multiple books before I read the first one. It's a little bit of a problem, but it is what it is. The first 2 sentences of like the Goodreads description are Dreamwalker, Night Watcher, Lady of Ravenwood. Lady Selene has come into her family's power, but has she inherited a gift or a curse? And what I know about this is that she is able to dreamwalk. She can enter a person's dreams and manipulate their greatest fears and desires. So I think that is so interesting. I honestly don't know much else about what this book entails. I know that there's a romance. I know that there's like houses. She's like part of House Ravenwood, maybe, potentially. I know there's houses of some sort. So I'm really excited to start those books. That's Mark of the Raven. Also really pretty covers. And I also wanted to talk about now another series by Morgan Busse as well. It's called Daughter of Light. The covers are so gorgeous. They remind me of like classic fantasy, like very classic, gorgeous, old style fantasy covers. And that really is what drew me in to put that series on my TBR. I love covers. I can't help it. Sue me. I'm sorry. I love covers. I love a good cover. This is so interesting because this book says, what if with one touch you could see inside a person's soul? That's so interesting. A young woman discovers she's not human. There's a war. She's living in fear. Basically, this girl finds out she's not human. She can touch someone, see inside of their soul. She's seeking refuge. There's a war on the rise. I just think it sounds so interesting. And again, the cover, it's just so beautiful. It's so beautiful. The next book I want to talk about is actually by an author that I already love. I am a part of a street team for this book that is coming out in, I think, May it's coming out. It is called The Betrayal of Eden, and the vibes, hold on, let me fix my camera. The vibes are literally incredible. Incredible. It is based on or inspired by the Count of Monte Cristo, which is a classic that I've literally never read. Okay, I've never read. I don't know anything about it, but I'm kind of excited about that because that means that when I go into this book, like, I don't know what I'm getting at all. Like, I don't know any of the inspiration. I don't know like what's gonna happen. But this book sounds so incredible, and I wish I could just read you the entire blurb because truly it sounds like so good. I'm gonna try my best. It's so good. And Erin Phillips, if you don't know, she is a Christian author who wrote 2 other books, A Bond of Briars and A Crown of Chains. I've read A Bond of Briars. It was amazing. Loved it. And I'm going to read A Crown of Chains hopefully in the next few weeks. They're both biblical retellings of Ruth and Esther respectively. And so good. Just like genuinely so good and magical and dark, which like I love a good dark fantasy with biblical themes included. It was perfect. Honestly, it was perfect. Both like I loved it. So I'm super excited and super happy that I get to be part of a street team for this book as well because I love her writing so much. And this new book, The Betrayal of Eden, sounds so good, like genuinely amazing. This says, not everyone gets a happy ending, but betrayal is just the beginning. At 16, Eden Fortin sees nothing but a bright future ahead of her. With a valuable promotion on the horizon, she is granted a coveted spot as a debutante alongside her wealthy friend Fallon Riviere. An important step in escaping the sordid South Bouts and securing a future with her beau, Miles Taillefer, the son of a powerful representative. Happily ever after of Eden's fairy tale rise will be more dangerous than she realizes. Hunter Calder, who are you? Are you the real romance interest? I feel like you are. An indentured servant in the Riviere household is far too familiar with the family's schemes. Forced to pay off his father's debt, he discovers a dark secret about the mysterious grimoires Cartier City uses to maintain order. However, revealing the truth might not provide the freedom he seeks. I'm just saying, this sounds amazing. Eden becomes overwhelmed with the requirements of high society. Her rivals uncover the means to her undoing. All the while, the grimoire magic works in ripples, and there's suspenseful mystery, shattered dreams, and dire consequences. And that this book will make you question everything you know about happy ending. I could not be more excited about this book. I think that it's one of my most anticipated books and reads of 2025 for sure. I'm so excited about it. I can't wait. Yeah, and if you haven't checked out Erin Phillips, you definitely should. On Instagram especially, love her content, love her books, and her books are on Kindle Unlimited if you're interested as well. The next book I want to talk about is coming out in March. It is called Embergold by Rachelle Nelson. And I actually heard about this book on Instagram. A few people were reviewing it and talking about it, and it sounds so good. It sounds like a classic, good YA fantasy. The tagline, the first line in the description is fire dreamed of water, but the first sip would be its last. That's great. Guild has spent her life isolated in the wild marshlands, a place too wet for a dragon to go. She's safe there, according to her father. So why is he asking her to leave with him now that she has come of age? There's more to her family than she knows, and debts need to be paid. This is so interesting. And then it gets even then it says, betrayed and shattered, she wakes in a crumbling mountain castle with the beast of her nightmares. Guys, that sounds so good. So good. And that comes out in March, so we have to wait a couple more months. But it sounds so good. That is definitely one that I'm really looking forward to. There's definitely going to be dragons involved, so I'm excited about that. I love a good dragon book. Love a good dragon book. The next book that I want to talk about is called The Huntress by Carrie Cotten. The cover just really, really jumped out to me, and I found out about this book from Threads as well. And it is also on Kindle Unlimited. I'm sorry, I'm literally just wagging this pen at you guys this entire time, but it is also on Kindle Unlimited. A Christian medieval fantasy. Count me in. Count me in. The cover is so beautiful, literally stunning. Says, betrayed by their allies, the last of the Picts have escaped to the innermost part of an endless dark forest, content to remain hidden there forever. Made queen as just a child, Serene has given all of her life and heart to the task of making sure her people are never terrorized again. Then a handsome stranger from the kingdom that betrayed them falls injured at the boundary of her village. She's forced to choose between mercy and duty. Now, I love a good enemies to lovers, okay? This sounds so fun and so good. Classic enemies to lovers medieval fantasy. I'm so here for it. The next series I want to talk about is the Cursed and Condemned series. I think that's what it's called, like the whole series, but the first book is The Cursed and Condemned. And it's by Danielle Millian. First of all, again, I know that I do this every single time, but I need to talk about the covers. All three covers are so beautiful, so gorgeous. It says, cursed as a baby with the power to make any living thing age. Y'all, I've never heard of a magic like that. Like a magic system where you touch another being and you make them age. That just sounds so fascinating to me. And like the amount of issues and problems that could definitely arise with a power like that, I'm excited to learn about it. Ivy struggled to live with her curse. When a powerful voice calls to her, drawing her in, she follows the voice into the forest beyond her small home. Meeting unlikely people with strange histories and abilities, Ivy realizes she's not alone in the world. Can she realize her true potential before it's too late? That sounds so interesting. And like a coming of age sort of situation as well is always really fun to read and really fulfilling to read. Someone find out who they are and accept who they are and love who they are. Also, hold on, friends. I literally made a coffee and then I forgot it. I need to go get it. I have my coffee. I really needed this. It is my second coffee, but I needed it. The next book that I want to talk about is called What Comes of the Commoner's Ball. And this one seems like a more lighthearted, like fun fantasy, which I'm very excited about. Sometimes you need just a good little lighthearted fantasy between like really heavy ones especially. This is cozy, it's historical, it's fantasy. That sounds like everything like check, check, check that I want in a book. Hester Flanders went to the ball for food. She didn't expect a prince to follow her home. If there's one rule Hester learned during her country upbringing, it's never accept a gift. That's how the folk get you. And although she's left her farm behind, she can't leave her superstitions, even if no one else in the capital city seems to care. Hardworking but hungry, she's looking for loopholes, and the King's annual Commoner's Ball seems like the perfect way to get a free meal that's not technically a gift. And it would have been too, except a pesky prince took a shine to her. I have no idea where that book is going to go, but I'm so interested to find out. It sounds really fun. It sounds like a good time. I think it's also on Kindle Unlimited if you're interested in it. It just seems like a really good time, you know? A book that I have been wanting to read for literally so long, but I haven't yet. And the reason why I haven't read it is so silly. It is literally on Kindle Unlimited, but I have this problem. If I really enjoy a book's cover, I don't want to read it on Kindle Unlimited. I want to buy it so I have the physical trophy for my shelves. And I really need to stop doing that because it's not good. It's not good. I pay for Kindle Unlimited. I pay for this service, and I should use it. So I'm really trying to do that this year. But that is the reason I have not read this book yet, because I've like been waiting to buy it, but I'm like, no, I'm gonna read it on Kindle Unlimited. And that is A Story Spun in Scarlet by Renee Dugan. Dugan? I hope I'm saying her name correctly. The premise of this book sounds so interesting. Like, I feel like it sounds like such a unique concept. I don't even know how the concept will be written and like work, but I believe she will do it. I believe she absolutely will. And I'm excited when I read it to see how it's done. Audra is a storyteller without a purpose. When all the tales of the land of Meath Rachelle lost their endings, Audra fled from her family's rejection and the only home she ever knew. Now, with a sense of veiled danger haunting her heels and her life as devoid of direction as her stories, she arrives at long last in a city of fresh starts and second chances, and there she finds an adventure greater than she ever dreamed. And that is just the beginning of the blurb, but there is also, I think, a romance that is a main center of this book. And basically, she's a storyteller, like that is who she is, this character, and yet the land that she is from has lost its stories. So now what do you do when a storyteller who you are at your core has lost stories? That I just feel like that sounds so fascinating to me. And I'm really curious to see how it was written and how that concept is portrayed in the book. And I'm excited to see it. So that is one that I've been wanting to read for so long. And I just need to get my butt in gear and read it. That's what I need to do. The last books that I want to talk about is actually by an author called Anabelle Raven. I found out about her actually through Threads as well. Threads is such a good place to learn about book recommendations, and also just like book threads is such a fun place. Just like a side note, but you should hang out there. It's a good time. Anabelle Raven is a Christian author who writes really fun, adventurous romance books, but they're fantastical. Like they're fantasy romance books. There's Ella and the Elf, Marian and the Elf, Nolan and the Elf. It's just, they sound so fun and so cute, and just like they're each standalone fairy tales that have happy endings, which I think that sometimes you just need. High stakes and fantasy romance combined together with elves, obviously elf love interest. Maybe, I think maybe in some of them, in some books in the series, the female character is the elf, and in some the male character is the elf, which is very interesting. I just think that they sound so cute and so fun, and the art is also so beautiful, and they're also, you guessed it, on Kindle Unlimited. So like I said earlier, I don't love romance, but I love fantasy romance. Like, I love fantasy romance. I love it. I love it. So this is definitely up my alley and something I really do want to check out this year. And those are all my recommendations. I literally have not read any of these, but I am hopeful about all of them. And I hope that I added some books to your TBRs as well if you were also looking for Christian fantasy. I feel like it's kind of hard to find some, but if you just like ask around, there are so many amazing authors and creatives who are creating these worlds. They're creating such wonderful worlds that you can read about and enjoy. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you liked the video, and I hopefully will see you around. If you have actually, before I go, if you have a favorite Christian fantasy book or fantasy written by a Christian author, what is it? Please let me know, because I am always like continually, as I should not be because my TBR is already so long, but I'm always still looking to add more to my TBR. It is a problem. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful, beautiful, lovely day, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.